Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the go-to platform where faith-driven entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and experts share their stories, wisdom, and expertise to inspire and impact others. This isn't just another interview series. This is a strategic platform designed to amplify the voices of high-level entrepreneurs, which especially includes kingdom entrepreneurs who are making a real difference in their industries. My goal is simple: to serve you, the expert, by giving you a stage to share your message, expand your reach, and create lasting value for others. Through authentic, in-depth conversations, we uncover the real journeys, challenges, and victories behind today's leading experts. Each interview isn't just content. It's a powerful asset that helps you to establish authority, increase visibility, and connect with the right people. So with that, let's dive into today's episode. Once again, welcome. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another episode with Expert Interviews with Ken. And today I have special guest Melanie, and she is a seasoned career coach, LinkedIn strategist who brings over 20 years of recruiting and coaching expertise to help job seekers take control of their careers. After a successful career in recruiting, she launched her coaching practice in 2017 to empower others with the tools, confidence, and clarity to navigate a changing job market. Known for her real talk approach and emphasis on resilience, Melanie supports professionals at all levels in finding meaningful work and building personal brands that stand out. Welcome, Melanie. I am really excited to have you on today's episode. And where I want to start today is unpacking your story. Let's share all the things that is you, how you got here, why it's such a passion of yours, and let's just move forward from there. So I'm going to turn the mic over to you, my friend.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited. I actually do love to share my story. I used to be afraid to share it, to be honest with you, because I felt like in many ways, like, oh, I can't be a coach and tell you about all the failures I had, right? Like, and then I realized, no, that our sharing our stories is something that's really important. It allows people to understand where not only you've been, but also understanding that other people have been in these exact same situations. So for me, I had a successful career, as you mentioned, as a recruiter, built up a career, 20 years, ended up leaving a company that was toxic from the top down, and then literally didn't have a plan. I didn't have a backup plan. I was in that process of like, well, what would I do next? And the only thing I really knew was recruiting because I had done it for so long. But I was also scared. I didn't explore all the avenues. So I stumbled out of the gate. I wish I had a coach. I look back now and go, where was that person that could have helped me? Luckily, I ended up finding that person, a couple of people. But I, made some stupid career decisions, to be very honest with you. I worked for a former friend that ended up not paying me.
Oh, gosh.
Decided one day that he was just going to change the business that we had entered into agreement of. Now, I know, like, when I say this today, the first response I would say to somebody is like, get the heck out of Dodge. What are you thinking, girl? I was so like, okay, I'm gonna help you. We're gonna build this next venture, and we're gonna do this. And the reality was, I was building somebody else's dream. I was building somebody else's mission. I didn't have anything for myself, and unfortunately, that relationship fractured. I ended up being like flat broke. Was a single mom at that time. My parents were both ill, so there were so many things happening in my world that my thinking compass was definitely broken at that point. Ended up, long story, finding a couple of other job opportunities that were just not the right fit. got laid off, fast forward end of 2017, got laid off the Thursday before Thanksgiving. And I remember that
Oh,
to this day because it was the Thursday before Thanksgiving. And I clutched my purse and she was like, "Can I give you a hug?" And I was like, "I guess." I was just trying not to cry and, really thought I have ruined my career. I have I have no money. I have nothing to prove for this last year. I've I don't know what I'm going to do. I was at rock bottom at that point. I got very depressed, obviously, just because I felt like I had totally put myself into this situation. I was responsible for it, and I didn't have a solution. I did not. And I struggled. I struggled big time. I struggled for interviews. I struggled to present myself in a positive way. I struggled from a mindset standpoint. The only thing getting me out of bed was taking my daughter to school. That was the
mm,
only thing that was pushing me. I purposely would work all day from a Starbucks, just so that I didn't go back to the apartment and go back and lay down in bed. So I had to have some structure. I really had to push myself out of that mindset, really get myself pulled together again. Luckily, as I mentioned, two lovely women who were coaches came in and gave me some time and reminded me that this was a setback, but it's not a complete failure. I still had control over where I was going to go, my destiny. I still had control over that. I just had to rewrite that story. I had two options. We could stay on this path, which wasn't producing anything, or I could start to pull myself together. And that's when I went on a whole path of really focusing on mindset. I'm not a trained mindset coach, but I do believe heavily in it. I believe it's critical for us, especially in the job that I do today, when I'm working with so many people that may have been laid off or looking to make a pivot. We have to have strong minds in everything that we do. We have to have, and when all the world is, in chaos, and we consume all this news and we're taking in everything, or life happens, your parents, for me, both my parents got sick roughly about the same time. Your mindset is the one thing that you have, and
mm.
you have the control over it. And so that is what started me on a whole new journey, and ultimately I landed a role that in the meantime I started writing resumes. I went back to the thing that I knew how to do, and people started to hire me. And there would be days I would be like, "Why are people hiring me?" Like, why did this person hire me? But they did. And little by little, I was building this business and didn't even realize it.
Mm.
And so, and that's when I got laid off the June of 2018. I said to myself, "Okay, you've been working full time, but you've also been doing this thing over here part time, and literally lunch breaks, get home, get online with clients, do work at late till midnight, and get up and go to the other job." And I was just grinding. I was grinding really hard, and um, I was I was determined to get myself out of this place that I had been and never go back to that place. And
Right.
so I when I got laid off that summer, I said, "Okay, we have two options. I can continue to go look for another job, or what if I go in full time?" And I gave myself a goal of 6 months because I just said, you've been doing this part time. What if you really put all your energy and focus in on building a real business? So, and that's what I've been doing since. And so, not that it's been easy, there's definitely challenges, but I think that's where we're at today. Is that I took a chance on myself. At a time that I was probably most in doubt of myself. So,
Curious question. With the clients that come to you and ask for help, what's their biggest struggles? What's the thing that they're calling out in the middle of the night, just screaming out like, what's that thing that's in them that they struggle with that you literally help them break through?
the biggest connector of all of my clients is the fact that there is this feeling beneath them, almost like the layer of earth. It's like right below you, that's in your gut that's just like, well, I'm not unhappy, but I'm not happy. And it's that gnawing feeling of like, should I look for another job? Like, I'm not being heard. I'm not being seen. I'm not necessarily respected in my job. I'm just an employee. I'm not somebody whose opinion is valued. It's, really being able to be seen and to be heard, and not knowing if they should take that chance. Should I venture out and look at other opportunities? Often when we're in life, we stay with the things that are, even if they're kind of crappy, we tend to stay with those because we know them. We
Yeah.
already know the challenges we're dealing with, the fights, the obstacles. We know that becomes a safe zone. And so when clients come to me, they're really looking for somebody to help guide them into, okay, well, what should I do? How do I even go about looking for another job? I don't even know if I could find another job. I haven't been in the job market for 10 or 20 years even. And then you hear all the stories that are happening in today's world with the job market. Is it even safe for me? And I'm a big on saying give yourself permission to explore.
Mm,
You don't have to make a decision. You don't have to pull the trigger, but give yourself permission to explore the opportunity because we don't know what we don't know. And so that's the thing that I think is so important is I see so many people come to me having already told themselves this can't happen. And I always back it up and say, wait a minute, where's this coming from? Do you know this to be fact? I look for facts. I always say, if one person has done it, that's all the proof we need in this world to say that you can do it. Because if one person's done it, that means another person's probably done it. We're not reinventing the wheel in this world of anything. Like
no, we're not.
there's nothing, there's very little left for us to, like to think that like it's nobody else's venture. Is it going to be hard? Yes, it's going to be hard. Anytime we're making change and we're pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone, it is hard. But is it going to be worth it? Now, that's the question. What is it that you're seeking? So we do a lot of exploratory work, a lot of like just giving yourself the freedom to say, if you had no limits, what would the job that you'd want to do? What would you really want to do? And it's a safe space. It's a safe
Mm,
space where you don't have family, friends, kids, parents, whatever, whoever, you don't have any. I am not there to make your decisions for you, but I am there to listen to you. I'm there to give you advice. I do tend to give a little bit hard. Sometimes I have to give tough love.
right.
Um,
Yes.
I believe in tough love. I do. But I'm also there to let you have an opportunity to say, okay, what if I did this? What would my life look like different? And we don't do that enough in this world.
That's so good. We don't do that enough in this world either. Now, let's take this a little bit of a step further. Now, our topic today is resilience in the field that you are called in and retaining your goals. Um, what does, though, real resilience look like? Not just the bouncing back part, but pressing in deeper. What does that really look like?
For me, that really looks like it is literally you could, and I've been there. I like knocked out, flat out, not just the bounce back, not just an easy bounce back, but like pulling myself up by the just like thinking of like climbing a mountain and just literally having a rope on that mountain and having to climb myself. I pull myself every single way up that.
Mm,
And and it takes all the strength in the world to do it. It takes the stamina to do it, but also the vibe of just never gonna give up. I'm just never gonna, like you can push me down as many times. And yes, we hear that the philosophy of like, oh, you bounce back and like But sometimes we have to recognize when we do bounce back, we've got a few bruises from that. And how do we, how do we respond to those? How does, that is also how we feel and how we, allow ourselves to heal and, but also recognizing them
Mm,
and, still being able to just have the strength to, it's an inner strength, but I also feel like it's a physical strength of just not like I'm not going to give up. I'm not. And I think that I keep saying in the world we live in today, because there is a lot of chaos. There is a lot of things that are happening in this world. And there's a lot of negativity, negative news. And it's hard not to consume some of that. But, and then, also just the day-to-day life challenges that people face. But how do you respond to that? Because it would be, I mean, yeah, it would just be an easy situation to say, I always say, like, well, if you've been laid off, what's your option?
mm,
Like, are you just gonna not like, I mean, we're not in situations where, like, I mean, unless you're really super lucky, like, oh, I don't need a job. I mean, most people, your option can't be to give up. Mine is asleep, so we're thankful for that, okay, folks, because if you hear what sounds like a baby crying, it's just my cat.
right. No, it's okay. He makes appearances all the time, so I'm used
Mine
to it
has
by now.
mine has a slight following on LinkedIn. They ask for him to show up on things. He has a little fan club happening, so
But yeah, and he'll probably okay, hi, there you go.
I know. I'm sorry, I was talking about my cat and like
Oh, no, no, no. Hey, it's good. So kind of staying on that same line of subject, it's interesting. One of my very strong pillars that I start all my clients on, every single client that has come into my world, every single one, we start on mindset because I can teach people everything that there is about weight loss, about healthy decisions, all the things, right? I don't need to go into all that. But if I don't help them begin their journey and continue their journey with the right mindset foundation and prefacing it correctly, they might go on to lose weight, but they're never going to keep it off. And so it's really important that I lay the foundation of mindset for them. And I actually have 7 different angles that I teach. And one of them is the embracing process, kind of going into what you were talking about, the bruises and different things like that. Even in the journey that you help people through with their jobs and different things like that, career choices, resumes, like all of it, there's a journey that needs to be taken there. And there's going to be points in that journey where things are going great, things are amazing. There's also going to be points in that journey where things are challenging. Things are a little, maybe looks a little scary, but you've got to walk through that. You get to embrace every single one of those moments, not as not as something like, oh, this is a challenge. I don't know if I'm going to get through it. I don't know. I don't know if I have the ability for this. No, no, no. You get to now learn from those challenges, grow, get wiser, get stronger, and get better. That is literally the key in many different types of journeys and into getting better and then maintaining the person you're becoming through that journey. Does that make sense?
it makes perfect sense because I'm a big found. I had a call with a client today and we're working through some what I call career clarity or career mapping to really, because a lot of people make the decision of like, oh, I need to leave or I need to change jobs. But they don't do the work on the front end, to be very honest, of like, well, what's wrong with the place you're at? What would you change? Like you really have to do that work, that front work,
That deeper work. Yeah.
so that because this is what happens is we tend to replicate the things that we do know and
Mm-hmm.
we ignore those red flags that have been waving at us for the last 5 years at the one job, and well, it's different people and like we make those excuses. And so if you know what to look for, but you also understand what you need. What do you need out of a company? What do you need out of a boss? What do you need out of your job? And so those become your core, like your what I call your career values. Those become your core, and that's going to help you really determine the direction that you should go in. And so the first thing I said to this client today was like, first thing I want to talk about is because I have people do answer questions and things of that nature and do
Mhm.
some work.
Same
And
here.
I said, want to change the mindset. So moving forward, every time you sell yourself that you're stuck, because she kept saying, I'm stuck, I'm stuck. I said, we're going to change this to I'm in progress.
Ah,
I'm
yes.
making
Very good.
progress.
Yes.
So I'm no longer stuck. And I may not be moving at 100 miles per hour. I may be moving at a 1 mile per hour on some days. Maybe I'm going 60 on another, but I'm making progress. And by just taking that first call and making that investment, we've made progress because now you're committed to this. You're committed to a process. You're committed to really discovering and finding out this information. And so I was like, so every time you feel like you're stuck, you're good. Because the reality is, I'm not going to change your Monday through Friday situation right now. You're in where you're at, but I want you to reframe that. So every time you feel that moment, change that thought immediately. I was like, put a post-it note up, put it under, I'm in progress. Put it everywhere, okay? Put it everywhere. I want to, wherever you need to see it, it needs to be in front of you consistently and, all the time. And so it just needs to be, we need to sometimes beat ourselves over the head over and over with these words until our brain, because that's the beauty about our brains is we can rewire our brains. We can
Yes.
rewire them to think differently. And so it is that choice when we understand it as a choice to how we're going to view a situation. It is okay. And I don't want to say here also, I am not like unicorns and rainbows all in sunshine. Yeah, there are some crappy, sucky days, folks. I get it. And it's okay to, you know, have that moment and have that moment where you're just like, oh my God, this sucks. Yeah, I have them.
Hmm.
But I make a choice whether because the person that I was back in 2017 stayed in that moment, as opposed to now when I have those moments, I tell myself, like, okay, you stayed in this space for far too long. What has it done for you? It usually does nothing for me. It doesn't make me feel better. It
Mm.
doesn't make me work harder. It doesn't do anything for me. So now I need to recognize that. So I'm a very big believer in it. And like we do have to have because here's the thing about job searching, I will tell you, you're going to get rejected. You're
Yep.
going to get rejected a lot. Okay. You're going to get told no a lot. You're going to probably feel like you're being criticized. There's nothing fun that comes out of job searching. Nobody ever says, oh my gosh, I love job searching. Nobody's ever said that, okay? Because nobody loves to job search. So, um, that being said, and the same goes for that. I don't know that people go, yeah, I love, which I know is not your type of program, but I love to restrict myself with certain foods. Like nobody loves that.
It's the
Nobody
same
enjoys
aspect.
that.
It's the same aspect. I've got to share this here. It's the same aspect of nobody loves to go to the grocery store. But
Right.
I do find it very funny that one of my beginning clients, and most of the clients that I mean, every client I have has a similar story, but this particular one said the statement, and I was just like, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that. She said to me at the end of her session at the last part of my boot camp, she's like, now I'm excited to go to the grocery store. And I'm like, what? Who says that? Right? Um,
No.
no one. But you see, we get to empower our clients
Yeah.
to get to that point. It's like, okay, I'm excited if, and if I have to be excited to get those no's to get to my yeses, then let's go. That's kind of where you want to bring your clients. And then the other thing that I wanted to add to that as well, and I wrote it down so I didn't forget, which I think resonates greatly with what you do with your people. Patience over perfection.
Yep. And that's taken for me personally. I don't know that it's definitely, I've been definitely close to being a perfectionist. Like, I'm okay sometimes with it not being absolutely perfect, but there's definitely things that I feel like I always tell people, like, this may come as a shock to, some of the listeners, but there won't be a perfect resume for you, for example. Like, I'm not going to create the perfect resume for you. It's not a, like, this was the magic key and it solved all the problems.
It's not a
Like,
one size fits all.
yeah. And so, so there are times where I'm like, it's like I've told clients, I'm like, I don't know. I feel like this is we're right now, we're the best it's going to get. It doesn't mean it can't get better. And then I'll come back, I've come back to resumes like 6 months later or something. And I'll be like, oh, let's change this or let's, so I do feel like it is important to understand that like we're this whole ideal, and there's no perfect job either. There's no perfect, yeah, I have a lot of freedoms as an entrepreneur, as a sole business owner. I have a lot of freedoms, but I also have a lot of different types of pressures that, there are some days that I'd probably turn those over to somebody else if that other people wouldn't necessarily agree and sign up for.
Mm,
I have personally signed up for it. And I'm, really committed at this point to like, hey, I'm not going back. So what's the solution? Well, I can't give up because that's not a solution. Giving up, we can't, whether it's your health, whether it's your career, that's not a solution. We can't just say, well, I'm not going to get a job. Well, that's not, giving up on that area is not a solution. So
no,
we have to find the solution, and it may take it is unfortunately taking longer in today's job market, but we have to keep pressing ahead. And that, again, going back, not to be, to sound redundant, but that's where our mindset's going to come in. It's going to swoop in and go, hey, this is not what we say. And, our brains are saying, this is not how we talk or how we feel or how we, want to perceive things. And so if you have to go in that bubble where you don't consume news, where you don't consume the negative stuff, or you have to go into a bubble where you don't listen sometimes to all the family chatter of what you should do, you may have to go into that bubble for a little bit, because you sometimes have to protect yourself.
exactly. It reminds me of something that I was talking to one of my clients with just a couple hours ago on her call, as she's walking with me through the boot camp and, helping her reframe language that that we commonly use in our head, the I can'ts, all of this and different things, reframing that into something that's more empowering. It's so crucially important.
You have to consistently, I cannot, like you said, in terms of the mindset piece, but I can't give you the confidence. I can encourage you, I can build you up, I can definitely, but in those tough times when I'm not, on the phone with you or, within a text or whatever, you've got to be so confidence is, we all know this is a very attractive, it's a sexy quality. People are attracted to confidence. We know that. But we see confidence come in many different ways. And to me, confidence is the secret to a successful like job search in
Yeah.
particular, because people are just not, you wonder like, how did that person get that job? They have no qualifications. It's mostly probably because they went into the interview very confident in themselves. And there are things that like I do when I'm preparing candidates for interviews that I work on. A lot of times I'll end up working on that piece more than I'll even working on questions, because if I see we're going south, I'll be like, time out, let's just focus on this. I don't, it's like you
Mm,
can answer that question, but here's the deal. If this person shows up, I'm not going to want to hire you. I want to hire the person that does believe in themselves. I
yes.
want to hire that person. I want that person to represent me. And so we see confidence come in many different, I always say, you look at the most highly successful people in this world, there's a reason that they have gotten to the certain points. And sometimes it comes in very different shapes and sizes and looks,
Yep.
but there's one trait that most of them all have, and that is that confidence factor.
Yeah, the confidence and maybe not necessarily credentials. Because I'm going to tell you, honestly, for me, let's take personal trainers for an example. Okay. When I'm at the gym, I can tell the personal trainers that have gone through the schooling, done the thing, and are just regurgitating crap in front of their clients. I can tell they're doing their clients good, and yes, yeah, all that other stuff. But you see, then I can tell the ones that maybe not necessarily have been through the schooling, but they have been through the deep research. They have been through the deep experience. They have been through all of the deep stuff in their own lives. And honestly, I'd rather hire that one than the one with all the credentials. Because in today's day and age, actually, what I value the most are the people that have actually done the deep research and the digging, and they have the real experience themselves to show for it. And they're showing up with that confidence. Those are the people that I actually hold high rather than the ones that have X, Y, and Z credentials or they have doctorates after their. That's
The only
all.
people that I need to make sure that you know what you're doing is an attorney and a doctor. Okay. If you're operating on me, yes, I want every single,
Obviously, yes.
yeah, I want every single credential under the sun. But yeah, I fully agree because like my own personal trainer, for example, he's asthmatic. Um, he was in an accident several years ago. He's a young guy, but he had to like really rebuild himself almost from scratch, really. He was in a very traumatic accident. And so he's, but he's also like, he's a runner. And, he was always told, like, as an asthmatic kid, like, you're never going to run, like, these long distances, or you're never, like, again, we also accept the things that people tell us,
Mm,
have a choice of like, okay, at some point my trainer could have said, okay, well, the doctor said I can never run a long distance race, right? Um, because that's what the doctors have said. But, as he's, gotten older and he's like looked into things, he's trained himself to where he can now run race. I mean, he's running like he just did the Murph challenge this past weekend, which is very strenuous. And
I've heard of it.
um,
I don't know much about it, but
yeah,
I've heard of it. Yeah.
all I heard was 300 squats and like, and like it's like only a mile, and I was like, well, the mile's not going to kill you. I was like, the miles. I was like, you'll do the mile in like a heartbeat. But yeah, very strenuous challenge, and so he, was part of a fundraiser, and so he was doing that. But again, he had, he always is finding opportunities to push himself because he was told, and at a young age you can't do this, but then also having an accident, hey, here's where your body is. So I do think that they're the same very much. It's so funny, or not funny, but maybe ironic, I guess. But you focus on the body, where and I guess in some ways I maybe focus on the mind in some degree, but I'm the thing I focus on is the outward of like all of the mind and the body going out into the world, and how we're going to present ourselves, and how we're going to, and the confidence that we have. And
Yeah.
so, it's very similar in those regards. We could accept with what we're told, or we could say, okay, I understand that may be a limitation, but what if we looked at this? What if we, examine this opportunity? What might happen?
Exactly. It's much different. See, how do I even phrase this? So, doctor tells you you're probably not going to run long distances again. You have a choice in that moment to allow that to sink in and believe it and become part of who you and allow it to become part of who you are, or you can choose to look past it and recognize that that's not your identity, that that may actually not be true, because the example you just gave, the guy, there you go, he did some research and he found out, he's just like, no, and look at where he's at today, look at the things that he's doing today. Oh my gosh, I love hearing stories like that where the person did not listen to the doctors that said you'll never blank or blank or blank. There are countless stories out there. The people that did not listen to that, especially people that were told that they only have 9 months to live.
Well, my
Nine
mom
years later.
Yeah, my mom was an example of that. My mother did pass away from stage 4 colon cancer. When she was diagnosed, she specifically told the doctors, um, do not tell me how long I have to live. Do
Mm,
not, I never want to know. Do not put that out there. Do not ever tell me. We knew the diagnosis, okay? We know what we're facing. We know we're not facing something that is going to go away overnight, okay? But she was very adamant about it. Like, I never want to hear that number. I never want to hear you. I never want to know that. I don't need to know that.
mm-hmm.
Because the reality is, she's like, I could have tomorrow. I could have, like, we don't know what we're given. She went on to live over a year with stage 4 colon cancer. She had a very aggressive cancer. It spread in other parts and things of that nature. And but she never, and we know in our hearts that she beat whatever diagnosis that they would have given. We know that because of just where it was headed. But again, she just truly was like, I just want to live at this point, and I don't want you to determine how long that's going to be.
Yes, I love that. I love hearing stories like that. It's so motivating. And here's the other thing. So, kind of in maybe taking it just one little tiny step deeper. So, with your clients, when one of your clients, whatever, one of your clients starts slipping or motivation starts to dry up, what are some of the anchors that you give them to help them, anchor in to their mission? What are some of those anchors that you give
The
them to
things
like,
that I look for is I always like to look for the small successes, because the reality is, for example, finding a job, that's the big success. Okay.
hmm,
Losing weight, I'm not going to lose 100 pounds tomorrow. Like, it's not going to happen in 6 months even. Like, so I either have to know that this is going to be in the long haul, or like, I'm not going to wake up tomorrow and go, yep, dang it, I hit that goal. I mean, some goals, yeah, we will, but a job search is not one of them in most cases. So if a job search, for example, is prolonged and we're starting to feel it, we're starting to like, I don't know what else to do. This is ridiculous, getting in our heads. I always say, let's just stop. Let's talk about some of the things that have worked. Let's look at some of those successes. And why do we think some of that was successful? So I always love to keep track of those small successes, because it's the small successes that help us, that can compounded become the larger success. And so if we can find that one or two things that is working, then
mhm,
let's pour into that for a little bit. Okay. Let's pour into that. Let's pour into the thing that is making us feel good and going in that direction.
hmm,
And that's the thing that we need to make sure that we're continuously doing. Now we're going to have to come back to some of the things that don't make us feel good and do those things. But at the end of the day, we also need to, if we're starting to feel down, let's do something that does make us feel good, that does make us feel like we're having progress. And so really understanding what that is. And sometimes it's also just taking a little bit of a break from it.
hmm,
And saying it is okay. Like, I don't have to be in a job search mindset 24/7, like I don't have to always constantly be on and, and I can put the computer away, and it's okay if I don't respond to an email right away. It's okay if I can, give ourselves that break from social media, the break from the computer, the break from just the grind. Sometimes our brains just need to rest.
Yes.
And oftentimes for me personally, when I'm more kind of more emotional or feeling all the feels and just feeling like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? This isn't working. I find that like that's because I've like probably pushed myself too much. And I think that people consistently, especially in job search mode, they just keep doing the same thing, same things, same things.
Over and
And it's
over and
like,
over again.
let's just stop that and let's just do something new or do the thing that you really like for a little bit and give ourselves that break from like, and I tell people this too, like right before an interview, I ask my clients, what is your cutoff time the night before? What is your cutoff time? No phone, no computer, veg on the TV, find your find your good show, or if you like books, read a book, whatever that thing is. But I want you to rest your brain. I don't want you to think about anything. Like I don't want you to think about, oh, how do I answer that question? I want you to lay out your clothes. I want you to then turn everything off. And I just want your brain to rest the at a certain point. Because we again, when we're in interview mode, we're always like, well, I've got to answer this, or what if I don't answer this? No, give yourself your brain that chance because your brain will show up 10 times better when it's in from having rest. And it will remember all those things that we think we're not going to remember. Like, how do we remember? I do remember random stuff like my childhood address and my childhood phone number, but life of me if I can remember like where I put my ear pods the other day. So like, but I'll remember weird stuff, um, but our brains do need to rest. So sometimes when I'm in, even when I get in that mode, I'm like, okay, let's just veg on something, turn on Bravo. Um, everything that for your brain on vegging can be on Bravo. But find the thing that you like to do and just rest your brain. That's the thing, especially. And I always ask my clients, I'm like, okay, I'm going to send you a text message, 10 minutes before telling you get ready to turn it all off.
Wow.
Because I don't want you, I want you to rest. I want you to feel relaxed. I want you to feel just not having that pressure, not even worrying that you have an interview.
Hmm. See what's interesting. So for me, so so yes, I have the times where it's like I'll turn everything off and I'll go and I'll relax and I'll watch, whatever on TV and different things like that. But see, over the last year to year and a half, maybe 2 years, I have recognized something. So one of my energy giving modes that I get into, which is it really is energy giving, is my creative mode. So I'm not necessarily turning things off, but and a lot of times it happens late at night. So yeah, I've had a little bit of relaxed time, and then I'd shut off the TV and all the other things, and this office then turns into a red to an amber like lighting for night lights. So there's no blue light. So and then I have my blue light blocking glasses, and then I come in here and I will either start writing, whether it's a resource booklet, and there's a number of them on my website, or I will start working on frameworks. So getting in the creative mode is something that I just absolutely love to do. And so those are energy giving moments for me, especially when I'm writing and I'm creating a document or resource and research or something. And then, okay, so as far as remembering things, my hack around that, which sometimes still drives me crazy because sometimes it gets out of hand, is sticky notes. Because
Yeah.
I will forget. I will have a thought and I'll be like, oh, that's a great idea. I need to create that out of that. Da da da. If I just let that thought be what it is, and let myself move on without writing it down. Sure enough, later I go to recall that it's not there. It's like, oh, I wish I wrote that down. What was it? But sometimes it gets really bad because I will have sticky notes, little pieces of paper everywhere, all over my desk. If you saw this entire wall, I don't think, it doesn't really show, but like this sticky notes everywhere. And it's all like either ideas I've thought of or names are on them or something like that. That's kind of my system. That's my hack.
I definitely, so for me, I definitely sometimes I do give myself a cutoff time at night where I do turn off, like, I'm like, okay, no more work, no more responding to emails, because I could work consistently. I feel I respond to when my body starts to get tired. For me, I also go and work out, whether it's with my trainer or just, 30 or 45 minutes of cardio. But during that period of time, I don't respond to emails. I'll even tell my kids, like my daughter will text me sometimes and I'll be like, getting on the tread. And like, it just basically means I'm not going to respond to you for the next probably hour to 2 hours. Because I'm going to have my downtime after that. And so I'm just off the, like, honestly, just off the grid, off the face of the earth. I listen to my music. Music is a big energy thing for
That
me.
as well.
Like sometimes too, if we're feeling it in our heads, we're not, to me, a good just sing it out loud, dance party by yourself,
Woo-hoo.
whatever, get that body moving, get your mind moving, just make yourself. I'm big on like whatever it takes, as long as it's healthy and safe to get yourself in a good space and a good mindset, because I, you know, the energy we give off of in terms of when we're applying. So for example, if you're applying for a job and you're like, well, I know I'm not going to get this. I don't even know why I'm bothering, but I'll go ahead because I have to apply for the job. I don't want you to have, I want you to want to apply for that job.
Mhm.
If we have to do that, then it's maybe I rather, and I tell my clients this, in which it sounds counterintuitive, I actually want you to apply for less jobs than you think you need to apply for. And the reason is that I want you to be very strategic about those. I want them to be the jobs that truly are exciting you, that are getting you really, not the ones that you're like, yeah, I would take that if it was the only thing left on the face of the earth. Like that's not gonna, like, we're not even gonna be happy in that situation. So why are we applying for it? And I get, and I always want to frame. I understand there's sometimes we have to do what we have to do because I've been there. Um, but from a longer term perspective, I want my clients to really be strategic when applying and then thinking about, well, who could I contact? Who could I reach out to? Who could I talk to? But again, if our thought process is like, yeah, I'm not really excited about this job, but could you make an introduction? Like, probably not. Like, I mean, that's not, the energy we feel about something is the energy we're going to give off on it. So if you've got to pump yourself up before you start applying for jobs, do that for 10 minutes. I try to do some type of meditation at least once a day during the day. Usually it's a positive mindset manifestation type of meditation in the morning. I do a nighttime sleep one at night. And, just again, it's always constant. I'm always constantly working on this because when you're an entrepreneur and you own your own business, getting told no is pretty consistent.
Yes,
So
it is.
it's pretty consistent. So it's usually the one guarantee I can always assure myself that somebody is probably going to tell me no today. And it's again, how am I going to deal with that? How am I going to bounce back from it? Okay, that one wasn't. So I'm big on like, let's pour into what's working and let's build from that.
And just I have a couple more questions before we start wrapping up here. So, how do you discern when to press through and when it's actually time to pivot or surrender something?
It's a good question. This is where my tough love probably comes into play. if I think somebody's really, there's what I call stretch goals, and then there's stretch goals. Those are the ones that are really like probably like that's going to take a lot for us to get to that, or we're jumping 12 feet ahead. So again, it's, if my goal is to lose 100 pounds and I tell you I need to lose it by December, you're going to tell me that's not helpful.
Yeah.
So understand, and I respect that goal. That can still be a goal, but that's a long-term goal. So when that moment, so it's really about understanding where does that goal fit into the big picture. And so again, going back to that person that may need that temporary job, that's not our dream job, that doesn't pay us what we need, that maybe is, maybe it's the retail job that while we're looking for a full-time job, it's not where we envisioned ourselves. That's okay. That's okay for us to take something like that. It may feel like, oh, I have to give up. No, you don't have to. Again, there's nothing that says you have to give up on your long-term goal.
Mm.
This is just a step. And so that's how I usually reframe. Like I look at where that person is. I had a client at one point came to me and she's like, I want to be an executive. I want to be a director. I want to be at this level. And I said, that is great. We've got about 12 steps in between where you're at today and where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what I'm going to tell you. Yes, this is your long-term goal, but you're not going to achieve that from where you're at today, because you're basically saying to everybody that you apply to, I got to jump over all the, I got to jump 1,000 feet, and you're the baby that hasn't started walking yet. So and I ended up working with her, and I will say to this day, she has progressed. So we're still connected on LinkedIn. I still see what she's doing. She's progressed so wonderfully in her career because she was first off, willing to understand that, but also understood the framework I established is like, I'm not telling you no to this. I'm just saying this isn't going to happen in 6 months.
Mm.
But here's what I do think you could be at. I think that if you went from here to a manager level and you got your feet wet and you got into the, really learn this level, that you could start to move up the ladder.
100%.
Because one, you already have that confidence. Like you're already like, hey, I know I'm there. You've got to, sometimes we have to prove ourselves. So again, if you have to take that lower level job, doesn't mean we stay there. It's just a stopping point.
Exactly. I fully agree. Now, as we begin to wrap up here, what are 3 to 5 powerful things you'd like to leave the listeners with today as we're wrapping up here?
The first one, I always say this in any podcast I do, is just please don't give up on yourselves.
Oh, amen.
Just just don't give up on yourselves. You are your biggest and strongest cheerleader, whether you know it or not. Two, surround yourself with people that are going to speak the truth to you, but also uplift you. And it takes a good, strong person to do that.
It does.
It takes a good, strong person, and recognize that sometimes the people around us, while they may mean well, they may not also understand our journeys.
Mm,
And so understanding where that's coming from, but just surrounding yourself with the right people is so important
yes.
to your success. And then the third thing I would just say, you know what, just try to have a little fun along the way. That's something I got from my mom. I was always a serious kid, and this is what happens when you're not. When my mother is very free spirited, loving, had just enjoyed life, always found humor in things, and she'd always tell me and my sister, "Girls, just laugh." That's what you get. You get two very serious girls when you're the opposite of that. That's what happens. But my mother always just used to say, just laugh. Stop being so serious. And sometimes I think, and as I've gotten older And as my daughter says, you're embracing more of your Peggyisms. Um, and but I understand that more now. And I don't do it. I personally don't do it enough, but definitely just that. And because sometimes we do need to slow down and we just need to appreciate all the stuff that we do have. So
100%.
maybe that's the fourth one is just, I'll add a fourth one, just be grateful for the things that we do have, even when we feel like maybe the bank account's depleted, maybe we've lost our job, maybe there's still things to be grateful for in this world. And just try your best, even if it's on repeat. Like, like, oh my gosh, the sun came out today. I'm really grateful for that. I'm grateful for the warmth. I'm grateful for the sun. If even if that's the only thing you find grateful for that day, just find something to be grateful for. That alone will change your life.
Amen. Such gold. It's so good stuff. Really, really great. So how can people connect with you if they want to work with you, get inside your world and all of that?
Yeah, so that I'm usually on LinkedIn about, I don't want to say 24/7, but you can always find me on LinkedIn. But just mention that you heard me here and I will definitely connect with you. I also do a lot of free coaching and things of that nature where I give people advice on LinkedIn and resumes. So that's always on my profile. And so I'm always looking again to help uplift people. And then I do have my website, which is a fast and easy way to send me a personal email, which is findsucceedachieve.com. And those are the two easiest ways to connect with. So
Perfect. So you guys, listen, Melanie has dropped a lot of gems, gold, treasure today in the things that we've discussed. So I encourage you, get into her world, get in contact with her, connect with her, even if it's just a strategy call, connect with Melanie. So Melanie's bio, as well as the links to connect with her, are going to be in the description below this video. And so you'll have everything there to get into her world and connect with her. And I really encourage you guys to do that. So you guys, one last thing before we close up this interview. So just kind of like a little bit of an announcement. Maybe this is your first time seeing anything with me on it or anything, and you're wondering, who am I? What is it that I do? Well, myself, I have lost 62.5 pounds and I've kept it off for 7+ years now, all without a diet and having that be sustainable. But how? How did I become the 5% of people that have been able to keep their weight off? Well, right now I'm giving away my 3 secrets to not only help you feel weight, to not only help you to lose weight, to feel energized, but also to get healthy without starving or dieting. In just 3 one-on-one sessions with me, I expose the 3 biggest lies that are keeping people sick, stuck, and overweight because that's how that industry makes money. And I show them how to fuel their body God's way so that they can break free and keep the weight off for life and for good, like I've been able to, sustainably and without a diet. So the link to join that, so that is through a mini educational boot camp that I have. And the link to join that is going to be below all of Melanie's stuff. And also, there's going to be other links down there where you can connect with me and get inside my world. Book a strategy call with me. Just get into my world. Let me help you unpack what that journey looks like moving forward, and let's go. So, anyhow, Melanie, do you have any last minute thoughts or anything else you want to leave everybody
no,
today?
I just want to thank you for this opportunity. I feel like it was a great conversation.
Oh,
And
it
then just
was.
hope people feel, leave feeling more positive or more hopeful. That's all we can do in this world.
It's amazing. And I can't believe that we've gone for an hour. Like, I just feel like the time went like that. Like, all
I
this
know.
time,
I literally looked down. I was like, whoa.
right? It's like, boom, an hour. Like, wow. But that's what happens when you're in flow state. And so I have also totally enjoyed this interview. And yeah, I've benefited. I've taken a few of the gold pieces that you threw as well.
Oh, thank you. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
again. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right, you guys. So, with that, have a great rest of your day or evening, depending on where you are in the world and what time of day you are listening. And I will catch you on the next expert interview with Ken. Talk to you guys later.